All right, hello everybody, and welcome back. It's that familiar face in the same old place with a new sweater vest and a new tie. This time we get together here, we're going to be talking about how to create your very own, very first code file or script or source file in R. Last time we were together, I showed you how to open the files that you already had, but it's going to serve you a lot better when you get out there into the world if you can make your own. So really quickly, I'm going to start last time by hitting this little X in the corner of that file name. Boom, it's gone. Now, I've kept my session going here since the last time I was recording something. It's probably a good idea if I go Session and Clear Workspace, just to make sure I don't have anything hanging out there. Really, you should be comfortable closing R in between all of your coding sessions and realize that as long as you save your files, everything is going to be all right. But what happens if I'm just starting a new project and now I want to open my first file for that? To do that, I'm going to go up to this piece of paper here, or you could hit Control and N, I suppose, and I'm going to select New File on that little triangle. You see, we have a whole bunch of options here. In fact, you can write in a whole bunch of different languages in RStudio. It's a really great place to bring all of your favorite languages together. And before you laugh too hard, just like some of us have our favorite sweater vests, we have our favorite programming languages. So what we're going to work with here is just a brand new R script. But if you were really into Bayesian modeling or a little bit of machine programming, you could work with a new stand file or a new C++ file. Maybe you're out there Pythonically Pythoning the world away, and all you care about is writing really cool engineering code that people who work in R can understand. You could create a new Python script that way. All of those file types are going to come as little templates when you first create them, and it'll explain what you need to put where. For now, again, we'll go with an R script. So this should look pretty familiar to how my console looked the very first time we ever got together. I now have this blank untitled 1 up in the top left corner of my screen. The first thing you should do is that if you want to save that, if you want to keep that file and write code in there, you should first of all change the name because nobody knows what untitled 1 means. And second of all, you should save that file. Actually, you have to do both of those things at the same time. You can either do this by going up to the File menu, clicking Save or Save As. You could go up and click on these little blue floppy disks, and for all the youngins in the crowd, those are the things that we used to put into computers before jump drives became something that could fit on your keychain. And if you don't know what a jump drive is, it's kind of like an SD card. And an SD card is kind of like the thing inside your phone that keeps all of your contacts in order. All right, just click the damn thing. Okay, so this is going to go straight into my working directory where now I can go assign a name to that file. I'm going to call this, very much in the old Windows way of things, my first code. I strongly encourage you to give your file a more meaningful name, or maybe one that's not an outright lie. This is not my first code at all. Let's just save it and get over it. So I hit save, and now you'll see I have a new title in my code file up here in the top left corner, and it's called My First Code. If you hover over it, at least on Windows, you should be able to see the directory. You can also choose to have that displayed at all times, but you can imagine those get a little unwieldy given the size of most of our file directories, especially on institutional computers like this one. Okay, so now I've got my first file out there. I can go ahead write some code if I wanted to get really crazy. I could go in and maybe I'm going to add a comment, and I'm just going to say, this is my first code. Nice. That means cool, radical, whatever. I don't know how you say it in present speak. It's nice. All right. I just hit the enter button or the return key if you like there, and it kicked me down to a new line. You probably even saw the new number line pop in there. I could hit it again, and I'm going to leave a blank space there so I can write some nice spacey code. Isn't that great? So one of the cool things R does for us is it keeps track of all of our line numbers. Just like if you go and like submit a paper to a journal or something like that, where you're going to include line numbers, right? But you notice as soon as I type that comment, the title of my document turned red. Oh no, red is bad. Red is bad in R and any programming language that was written after like 8-bit graphics, right? So the remedy for that is to go up and click the blue disk again. For me, I like to hit Control and S. You can tell I am PC centric, but that's going to be the same on Linux. It might be a command speed key on Mac. I never know. Just sort of fair warning there. Some speed keys on Macs use the old command. Some of them use the function key. Some of them use the control key on more of the modern keyboards that are trying to align with and steal. I mean, sort of emulate keyboards that people are used to, right? So a few different ways to do everything here. Now, let's go ahead and as long as we made our first code, why don't we write some actual code? That green line up above on line 1 is actually not code. It's just a comment. R is going to ignore that comment because it comes after a little hashtag, right? And you notice how it turned green. But I could go and do something really simple, like making R do a calculation for me. Let's do 1 plus 1. And nothing's happened here, right? Well, something has happened. My file name turned red again. So Control and S or click that save button. You got to get in that habit. Now, I've got code in my code file, but that's really just a text file on my computer with some special instructions to R in terms of how it's supposed to interpret the text that's inside of there, right? I haven't run any code yet. If I wanted to run that code, I can come up and hit the run button. Or again, you'll see that Control plus Enter option comes up. I like to Control and Enter because my workflow is Control S, Control Enter. Every time I run some code, I save my file first, even if it's already saved. I'm twitchy about it. That's why I always save my file first, because I get into teaching and then I have pop-up menus coming everywhere with file browsers if I forget to do that. So let's click Run for now. And you see I've got some now output that's gone to the console, and I've got some output. So all of the blue stuff in the console is really just a history of what's happened, okay? R is not really storing your console per se. It's storing the results of the code that you ran, that you saw getting run in the console. And you can run code directly from the console. 1 plus 1 still equals 2, all right? Now, if you want to go back and find some code that you wrote in the console, R is going to store all of this for you over here in the history file. And you could take that, let's say you've lost some code, oh, we need our data read back. And I can take that and I can send it to my source file. And that's going to pop up wherever my cursor was. So you can write new code in these files, and you can have old code sent back to those if you're kind of playing around in the console. Don't forget to save your files. This should give you a really brief overview of how to create your first script in R, how to write a little bit of code, how to run it. We'll get more into the actual syntax behind writing code, what it means when we write different types of code, and the kinds of things that we're doing and creating during the workshop.